This is Lois Whaley for Women Today and Yesterday. My guest today is Ginny Coover. Hi, Ginny.
Hi, Lois.
And we're going to be talking mostly about an upcoming event on June 13th, just next Saturday, a week from tomorrow when we're doing our taping, that is. And it's Democracy Day, which is going to be in Shade, which is Ginny's hometown. The little town of Shade, about 10 miles south of Athens on the old Route 33. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But first I want to do something which I traditionally do, which is talk about a woman from long ago who's featured in my book here, Remember the Ladies, written by Kirsten Olsen. Usually these are women whose death dates or birth dates fall within the time that we're talking on the air, or we will be showing the program on the air. So the woman I want to mention is Harriet Martineau. Harriet Martineau was born in 1802, which is a very long time ago. She was born in England, but one of the reasons I want to mention her specifically is that she's considered one of the foremothers for sociology. And she also spent about 2 years in the United States on an extended visit that was in the mid-1830s. And after she returned home to England, she wrote a book called Society in America. Now, about the same time, there was a more famous visit by a couple of Frenchmen, and later on, Alexis de Tocqueville wrote Democracy in America, which is still widely read. Unfortunately, I discovered there wasn't a copy of Society in America by Harriet Martineau for me to check out from the OU library because it was published in 1837. They have 2 copies, but they are both in the archives. They are so old, and I think that's a pity because she does say some very interesting things about the United States and her 2-year visit here, and the many people that she met in an extended trip from New England, New York, Michigan, which was frontier territory in those days, the Ohio River. She was shown, in fact, she was shown by a famous American, the outlook from Hawk's Nest in what is today West Virginia and was the western part of the state of Virginia back in the 1830s. She was in the South. So she took at least as extended a trip as de Tocqueville, but she is not remembered that much except perhaps in women's studies courses. So Harriet Martineau, and her birthday was June 12th, 1802, which is just a day before our event that we're going to be talking about, Jenny, Democracy Day at Shade on June 13th. Tell us a little bit more about the event, please.
Well, Democracy Day is set up so that people who want to know more about the effort to put an Athens County charter on the ballot in November can come and understand what some of the background to it is and why it is that we feel it's necessary for Athens County to have an Athens County charter, which includes a Bill of Rights. So we're going to be talking about what's happened in the past, particularly in regard to extractive industries and what that's meant for the county, and then what some of the issues and questions and problems are that people are facing today, and what we need to do in order to keep our county safe in terms of our water supply, our air, and our land.
Right. Well, we know that there's a long history of coal mining in the county, and actually that peaked, the coal mining peaked about 1920, which is a very long time ago now. But we've seen in the past decades, since I've been here 50 years, we've seen what's been left over from the coal mining, acid mine drainage in the streams, that sort of thing. But now we are facing a new problem, really, which is a question of hydrofracturing of deep shale, which is not being done in our county. However,
Correct.
However, there are injection wells for the waste brine that comes from the fracking process, and those are expanding greatly here in Athens County. Just in the past 3 or 4 years, they've been expanding, and will be even larger, we understand, because a new permit for an 8th well in Athens County has been accepted by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Oil and Gas Division. So this is the new threat, you might say, to
Yes.
by extractive industries, which is in the background of why we are having the Democracy Day, to explain the Athens County Charter. And I see you have a copy here of the charter itself.
I do. Everyone who is out collecting signatures to put it on the ballot has a copy of the charter, and it's also available on websites. I believe it's available on, let's see, it's available on the democracyovercorporations.org website. And if you need to get a copy of it, all you have to do is contact Athens County Charter at gmail.com, and they will give it to you. I mean,
They will bring it up, right,
They'll send it
yeah.
to you. They'll make sure that you get a copy.
I see, right.
Right. Now, it's kind of complicated, and so they've also put together what I would call an English version of the charter.
Yes.
One that people can understand, where it explains exactly what happens.
Right.
So that's the best one to get, if unless you're a lawyer and you want to be able to see the other one, because it helps you understand what each of these sections means.
Well, we have this little brochure which is being circulated and is available, and more copies will be available on Democracy Day and Shade
Yes.
on June 13th. But these are frequently asked questions about the Athens County Charter and Bill of Rights, and these are available. Are these questions available on the internet? Is this the material in this brochure?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, right.
I know that everybody who's collecting signatures are handing these out to people so that they have questions.
Right.
They're being left at libraries and community centers and places like that where
Good.
people can pick them up.
Right.
But if people want to get a copy and they don't have a place to pick them up yet, or they haven't found a location, all they need to do is contact Athens County Charter at gmail.com
Good.
and say, I want a brochure, frequently asked questions, and we'll get it to you, I promise.
Very good. So we still have some days that our program should be airing, before June 13th. But we want to talk about some of the events that are going to occur there. We've got this background of why we're having it. Who is sponsoring this meeting?
Well, the meeting is being sponsored as of now, and there are possibly some other sponsors that are going to get added to the list. But right now, it's Democracy Over Corporations
Yes.
and the Appalachian Peace and Justice Network.
Okay. So, well, we know Appalachian Peace and Justice Network has been around for, over 30 years, actually, associated originally with the United Campus Ministry on College Street, and in fact, I know their office, I believe, is still there at North College Street.
Yeah, it is.
And they have been involved particularly with bullying problems in the schools, you know. But this is a new place where APJN is speaking out and doing action by helping to co-sponsor the Democracy Day, which is going to be again June 13th, Saturday, at Shade. Whereabouts in Shade is this located, Jenny?
Well, if you come down Old State Route 33.
That is anyone coming from Athens, city of Athens.
Well, either. If you're coming from, there's a Y there where you come down Richland Avenue, and you come down there. It's by the BP gas station.
Right.
From that point, it's 7 miles. If you are coming up from Meigs County, you can come up Old 33, and you also come to Shade. It's the old high school.
Okay.
And then was the junior high. And it's right there on the main street.
It's a big brick building,
It's
isn't
a
it?
huge brick building, and it says Athens, or it says Shade Community Center on the front of it. It's also where the senior center is.
Oh, really?
And there's a ball field, and there's a whole bunch of things that they do there. So it was the old school, and the township trustees actually negotiated to get it, instead of tearing it down, to get it as a community building. And the Athens, or let's see, the Shade Community Center Association was formed, and have been doing things there ever since.
And you've been active with that group for quite a long time, haven't you?
I am a member of that group, and it does all kinds of things, historical things, senior center things. It's got open basketball. It trains people in computer skills. I think it has art programs, sewing programs. It has all kinds of things. It's all volunteer.
For the community.
For the community.
Of Shade.
People want it, well, anybody who wants to come.
Right.
You know, but it's held at the Shade Community Center, and it's a wonderful, wonderful facility for people to use. And we are lucky to be able to have Democracy Day there, because it's right between both Meigs and Athens County.
Right, and we should mention that although if democracy over corporations specifically is based in Athens, that there is a similar move in Meigs County to put a county charter on the November ballot.
Correct.
Because that's what we're talking about, is the possibility of actually having the voters vote on having a county charter in November elections, in the November elections.
Actually, Democracy Over Corporations is not Athens-based. It's Southeast Ohio.
Right.
And when we envisioned this kind of work, we were envisioning organizing in Vinton, Meigs, and Athens counties.
Yes.
And Vinton County, there are some people there who are beginning to organize, but they weren't as effectively organized in order to get it on the ballot this year.
I see.
But I suspect they will be doing that in the future.
Right. So people will be coming up from Meigs County, and hopefully maybe some folks over from Vinton County to the event on June 13th in Shade.
Right.
It's basically an all-day event, isn't it, Jenny?
Well, the actual program starts at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And it goes until about 4:30 in the afternoon. But at 8 o'clock in the morning, from 8 to 9, we're having tea and coffee and fruit and pastry snacks, and encouraging people to come early and meet their neighbors.
Yes.
Get to just talk to people and find out what each other's doing, and because this is about people organizing.
Right.
You know, and it's really good to meet and get to know people in the community.
Yes, and it is open. Is there a registration fee, Jenny?
There is no registration fee. We're encouraging people to let us know if they're coming so we know how much food to have.
Right.
We are providing lunch. We're not charging for lunch, but we're encouraging people to make a $2 to $10 donation.
Yes.
So that people can pay according to what they're able to pay. And what they're paying, this is not a fundraiser,
Right.
but we do have food costs. We are paying to use the Shade Community Center.
Right.
We're sending out all kinds of, well, publications.
Yes.
And we're spending a lot of money on this, so we're hoping to break even.
Yes. So there will be a lunch on site
Yes.
on June 13th in Shade at the community center, the big old brick building, which is unmistakably a former school.
Right. It
Here-
looks like a former school.
It looks very much like the one where we're sitting right this minute that used to be the Morrison,
Sorta, yeah.
Morrison School, big brick building.
Right.
Yes.
You can't miss it. It's
Right.
the only big building in Shade.
That's right. So tell us just a little bit more about yourself, Jenny. How long have you lived in Shade?
Well, I moved there about 35 years ago
Uh-huh.
and farmed. My partner and I did rotational grazing. And in fact, we were the first people in the county of Athens to do rotational grazing.
Oh, my.
And this hillside farm, which was eroding away, was turned within 5 to 6 years in a very thick pastured farm.
Very good.
Using sheep to do that. We also sold honey and maple syrup, and for a while we sold eggs. And I started a natural greenhouse operation and sold plants there for about 30 years, I guess. Well, no, 20 years. And then we sold the main part of the farm, and I kept part of the farm, and I still do a greenhouse operation, but mostly for myself, for my garden, and
I see.
2 households and myself use the greenhouse and the garden to grow our food. And I sell a few plants, but that's not my priority right now. It's
Right.
mostly for myself.
Yes. Well, I suppose that there was a school there in Shade. I mean, obviously there was a school in Shade if that big brick building is still there. But did your son attend that building?
did.
He did.
He went to junior high.
Junior high there. Uh-huh. Now, don't they have more of a centralized place in Meigs County for junior high?
Well, actually, it's the Alexander School District.
Oh, it is
and they've
Alexander.
concentrated everything into out near. I forget
Near
the name of the town.
Albany.
Albany, that's it.
Near
Out near Albany. The high school, the junior high school, and the consolidated elementary is all out there now.
I see.
But my son went out there 1 year to high school, and that was the only time he went out.
Oh, my goodness. So you're really a longtime Shade resident, and you're going to be probably in charge of making sure there are goodies for people.
I'm in charge of the food, and I'm in charge of the setup and takedown. And there will be people coming, anybody who wants to can come at 5:30 Friday evening. That would be June the 12th, right?
Yes.
To help set up tables and chairs and other things that need to be set up. There's several businesses that are offering food. And I have a committee that's working on food, making coffee and setting out lunch stuff and fixing some of the food in advance. So
Great.
if anybody wants to contribute food or help with that, they can call me. My phone number is 740-594-4147.
740-594-4147. And we're putting up on the screen here the contact information
If you're
for others. Yes, this
if you're
is,
planning to go to the Democracy Day, and you can let us know. You should contact the information up on the screen. If you want to help in any way, you can do that. But also, if you want more information about the schedule or where to sign a petition, if you want to do that before Democracy Day, you can contact the people on the screen. There will be petitions available. They're not the big thing we're going to push, because Democracy Day is an educational event for people.
Yes.
But there will be petitions there to sign if people have not already signed them and decide after they've participated in the day that they would like to. One of the other things that's going to happen during Democracy Day, which I think is like really key, is that the purpose of the charter is to give citizens the right to make important local decisions about our economic development, about issues with the protection of our water and our land and our air, which is essential for sustainable economic development.
Yes.
So part of the afternoon, after we've heard a lot of this information, will be getting citizens to mention what are the issues that are most important to them. We're actually going to break into groups and have people talk about these issues, come back and give reports. And if there are people who have burning issues in the county that they really want to talk about,
Sure.
that Democracy Over Corporations will take their contact information and get back in touch with them and help support them in the continuing work on that particular issue. So it's not just a place to come and hear things. It's a place to come and hear things and get your information
Yes.
that you need to answer the questions you have. And then if there are issues you want to work on, to get support on working on those issues.
Yes. So it's multitasking.
We're going to be accomplishing a lot that day.
Yes,
Right.
we hope very much to, on June 13th at Shade, from 8 o'clock if you come for a coffee beforehand, but the program itself is scheduled to begin at 9 o'clock.
Right.
And I believe the introduction will be given by someone who's been very much involved with the county charter movement, namely Dick McGinn of Athens. I think he will be the first speaker. But there are some other speakers later in the day as well. And I think that actually there's like a keynote speaker at 11, and that is Tom Hodson.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit, Tom Hodson is someone that is well known in Athens County for, many, many years. He was once a judge. He is currently serving, I believe, as head of the communications at Ohio University, the School of Communications. And so Tom is going to be one of the speakers.
He is, and he's also going to be interviewing Dick McGinn on WOUB prior to Democracy Day as well.
Is that right?
So that more people can have more information.
One of the things that I think is very nice, Jenny, is that we've had a lot of cooperation from local media in providing information about Democracy Day on June 13th. Just yesterday, there were articles, I believe, in both the Athens Messenger and also the Athens A-News about Democracy Day. And so if people, when I say yesterday, I'm talking about Thursday, June 4th.
Right.
Thursday, June 4th, there were nice little articles about the upcoming Democracy Day.
Right. They're very good articles, and they give all the details you need, like, when it starts and when it ends and where it's located and all that.
Right. And some of the names of the participants who are going to be speaking. And in addition to Tom Hodson at 11 o'clock, I believe that after lunch, there's going to be a talk by Jack Freck, the retired head of Job and Family Services in Athens County.
He is. And he's going to be talking about how this charter can make things easier for people in Athens County to do work that we want to do. There were times when state and federal governments have rules and regulations and make it really difficult, particularly for him and for other people like our county commissioners, to do the work they feel they need to do on behalf of the county.
Yes.
And there are ways that if we pass a charter, it would actually make it easier for people like him and the current county commissioners to do their job,
Yes.
the job we expect them to do. But the state has passed these rules and regulations that have basically stripped our county commissioners and other county elected officials of their rights to protect us, basically. And so what he will be talking about, and certainly what the charter will be doing, will be offering opportunities for our elected officials and people who work in organizations like Jack Freck did to be able to do excuse me, a better job of serving the people in Athens County and protecting us in ways we'd like to be protected.
Yes. Now, one of the things about the charter, we were talking about how you could, anyone who was interested could read the wording of the petition, and the petition to put on the November ballot the county charter form of government. And we're going into things like what is it that local people can do? Charter government by counties is a possibility, which is not that widespread in Ohio, but is definitely legal under the Constitution of the state of Ohio. And there are several counties which already are operating under a charter government.
There are 2 counties that have been operating under charter government for some time, but there are 5, I keep losing count because more keep coming in. There are like 5 or 6 counties in Ohio that have them on the ballot or are trying to put them on the ballot for this November.
Right.
Because Athens County is not the only place where the water and land and air are being threatened by contamination.
Yes.
There are many other counties where gas lines are going through, like high pressure gas lines, where fracking is being done, where injection wells are happening, where the people in that county are seeing the results of that, and it's causing serious problems in terms of the health of their communities.
Yes.
So they are also beginning to organize in order to get a Bill of Rights on the ballot as a part of their constitution so that we can try to stop the destruction of our communities.
Yeah. This charter actually, I believe it's limited in a certain way in terms of not changing what's currently being done. I mean, we still would have county commissioners and township trustees and municipalities and so on, and there would not be a problem of change with that.
Well, actually, you're absolutely right. And the simplest way to do this is just to read one of the questions and answers on our frequently asked questions, because this question gets asked all the time. And the question is, will the charter abolish or change any existing laws, contracts, and resolutions in Athens County? And the answer is no. All will continue as before, and all offices, departments, and employees will remain in place.
Well, that's an important thing to know, because some people wonder what is going to be different.
Well, people have attributed all kinds of things to this attempt to put a charter and Bill of Rights up for election or for agreement or proposed passage. But there are really only 2 things that this charter will do. The first thing it does is it gives citizens the right of initiative, referendum, and recall.
Okay.
And they do that by the way we're doing it right now, which is you have to go out and you get so many signatures and you have to put it on the ballot and then the people vote on it. It's not
Right.
like it suddenly changes everything.
Right.
There's this right of initiative, referendum, and recall, which means not only put it on the ballot for things like this that we want to change, but it's the purpose of it is that when government oversteps its rights, and takes our rights away from us, then we have the right of recall. So we can essentially put forward a petition that recalls government officials or recalls laws they've passed and say, no, you can't do that. And in fact, citizens actually did that with SBA 5, I think it was a few years ago.
Oh, yes, a couple of years ago.
Where the legislators in Washington passed this really restrictive laws, and the citizens got together and they initiated a recall, basically.
Right,
So
actually that was in the state of Ohio.
that was in the full state of Ohio.
Right.
That's right. And so we had that right in the state of Ohio to do that for an Ohio thing. What we're saying right now is that we want the right to do that when people in the state of Ohio do something in the county of Athens. That we don't have to get the whole state to come up and have a referendum. That the county of Athens has the right to have an initiative and referendum to say, this is not acceptable in our county.
Right. And so the problem again is with state government, as it was with the SB 5 legislation, was that the state had said certain things are going to happen,
Right.
and people said, no, we don't want them to happen.
That's right.
And there was initiative for a petition, and it came before the voters, and SB 5 was repealed.
Yeah, and I think it was like 3/4 of the people of the state.
Yeah,
it was very large. It wasn't a close thing.
Right,
it was an overwhelming
right. It was
victory
pretty
on the part of the
overwhelming,
people.
actually.
Right. Well, these rights are the main thing that this petition sets up. It gives us the right to do the initiative and the referendum. The other, within this petition or within this bill that would pass, there are only 2 rights we're exercising now. One of these rights is that we have the right to protect essentially our water, our air, and our land by 2 things. One, no citizen will have the right to allow any corporation or person to extract Athens County's water supply for the purpose of fracking. Even though fracking's not going on in this county, they could come in and ask me to let them put down something and suck up all of Athens County's water and take it away. And this bill will specifically say no.
Right.
No one in Athens County has the right to sell that water to somebody who wants to take that water away for the purpose of fracking. And the other thing that it protects is it says that there can no longer be any injection wells in the county of Athens because they are a threat to our water, land, and air. And in fact, we already know that pollution is happening as a result of these.
Right. Well, and the problem is that Athens County has greatly expanded, as I think I mentioned before, the amount of waste brine from fracking operations that is put into the ground here in Athens County. Just in the past 3 or 4 years, it's gone from, maybe I have a figure here. Anyway, it's going up a
this
great
frequently asked questions
Yeah.
actually has a chart in it. That's too bad we don't have it to put on the screen, but it says that there were almost 3 million barrels of this toxic water that's being injected into these wells in Athens County. And the
That was
majority of
in
that
2014, just last year.
that was in 2014.
Yeah.
And a barrel is 42 gallons. So if you multiply 42 times 3 million barrels, then you've got, what, over 100 million gallons of water that's going into, or almost 100 million
Right,
gallons
and
that's going into underneath our land.
it's not known what the results may be, in addition to the fact that there is the possibility of pollution of underground water supplies, and eventually running into our streams and into our rivers and so on. But in addition, there is the question about danger of the injection wells. One of the dangers that they've noticed in other states is earthquakes.
That's
and
correct.
They say that there's been some up by Youngstown. And we ourselves here in Athens County actually experienced the first earthquake in decades a year or two ago. And it was in the western part of the county, where there is an injection well near Albany, I know, the Ginsburg injection well, which is really a rather dangerous operation. It's been cited actually for being out of compliance a number of times, and you kind of wonder how they can continue. They have an open pit.
They do.
They have an open pit, open to the sky, whatever, you know. And if you go there, you can smell the stuff, you know, that's going up into the air from that so-called injection well that's supposed to be down below, but actually is on the surface, near Albany. I'm not sure exactly. They call it the Ginsburg injection well.
Well, one of the things that will be discussed and information presented at Democracy Day will be what the commissioners have been doing to try to control the toxic waste from injection wells in the county, to stop it, to get the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to either close them, fine them, do whatever they need to do to stop the leaching of these chemicals into our water and into the air. But because the state has taken away from our county commissioners their rights to protect us from these, they're being ignored. They're being treated like they have no rights. So this petition, which we're going to be putting on the ballot, actually would give the county commissioners the right to do something which the state has stripped away their rights at this point. So you can, as you begin to understand what's going on, you can see why it's really important for Athens County residents to empower their own elected officials to take care of these problems.
Right. Well, you know, in 2014, Athens was the #2 county in the state in terms of the amount of water, wastewater being injected into the 7 existing wells in Athens County. And as you point out, that was almost 3 million barrels.
That's right.
And then just a couple of months ago, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources gave a permit, authorized a permit for an 8th injection well in Athens County, which would be capable, according to the figures that the petitioners put forward, would be capable of putting in 4 billion gallons, that one well itself.
They would be doubling the amount that's going into Athens County.
Right, and that would make us #1 in the state.
That's correct.
For injection wells.
The other thing, Lois, that's really important to understand is that the majority of this waste is coming in from out of state.
A lot of it is, at least half.
Right, we've become the dumping ground for the area, the states around us. Pennsylvania, for example, allows a lot of fracking, but they've made it illegal for injection wells. So they
Send it to Ohio.
So they are building a dock, and this is one of the reasons why Meigs County is so involved in this. They're building a dock along Ohio River in Meigs County to ship all this stuff over here and bring it up. Right now they're bringing it in trucks, but then they're going to put tubes in the ground and run this stuff to the injection wells directly from the dock. So the whole line of this toxic material would be going through the counties into these areas in which they could get cut, in which, you know, and they could spill anywhere. I mean, it's a suicide mission for Athens County if we allow this to continue to happen.
And Meigs County, because this dock would be located in Meigs County.
That's right. That's right.
And so that is why the people in Meigs County many people in Meigs County are very concerned about this movement, about this building of this dock. Now, of course, there is still this question, would the Army Corps of Engineers and the Coast Guard, who have control over the waters of the United States, Coast Guard, we think of them as being on the oceans, but they also have a certain amount of control over the internal waters of the United States.
That's right. And they are allowing all of this toxic waste to be barged up.
Well, they may. So far, they have not allowed that. I mean, they've not permitted, as far as I know.
The dock is being built.
The dock is being built.
So there's improvement for that. And if the dock is being built, people have a pretty good idea that they're going to be shipping this stuff in barges or tankers or whatever they use to ship it on the waters up the Ohio River, which...
Or down the Ohio from Pennsylvania.
Right. I guess that's right. It would be down.
At least some of it would be down. And West Virginia. West Virginia also sends much of their fracking waste water to Ohio.
Right. And one of the things that's really sad is that the industry, which is now, because they have personhood, are allowed to lie and deceive people and withhold information. They essentially say, oh, this brine is harmless. But the actual, and again, you go to your frequently asked questions brochure, the Center for Biological Diversity has done a lot of study on this, and they're reporting that the fracking flowback, which is what's now being shipped into our area, contains dangerous levels of lead, arsenic, benzene, methylnaphthalene, I think it's called, trimethylene, benzene, and radioactive compounds. They don't all have all of those in them, but they all have a lot. They all have a lot of those in them.
Right.
And it's toxic. It's waste material. There's nothing of value in that water. And I think you had said something earlier about that there wasn't any evidence that in the injection wells that was polluting our water, but in fact there is evidence around the country that the injection wells are causing pollution. There's evidence that even though they say that they're guaranteed to last, these casings, for 50 years, what's going to happen after 50 years? And this stuff backs up, right? What's going to happen when the casing's put through a very hard rock and that rock splinters and causes the casing to crack? What's going to happen then? You know, we know that this is unproven. One of the most recent ones that I heard, which isn't Ohio but demonstrates the situation, is that recently the California Department of Natural Resources cited the location where a well should be placed for injection purposes. This was not fracking, this is for injection purposes. And they built the well there and they injected all this toxic waste down the hole, and then they discovered that they were injecting it into one of the few clean water reservoirs or aquifers left in the state of California, which has this incredible drought. Now, if that could happen, this idea that the people at the Department of Natural Resources and the people in these industries are intelligent people who understand the issues and have all this scientific research so that it's safe is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's
This is
oversold.
It's just nonsense. It's absolute hype. They do not care about our safety. It's profits they want, and they've been bought out by the corporations, the politicians, who are giving them the rights to come into our county to do this because they want their money. You know, and
Well,
they want
yes,
profit.
that's-
So we have to put aside this idea that somehow our politicians in Ohio, in the state of Ohio, are protecting us, or that these corporations are really intelligent and understand the problems and will protect us, because that is all nonsense.
It's definitely oversold, that's for sure. And you know, I was looking at the specifics about some of the people speaking on Saturday, June 13th at Shade on Democracy Day. And one of the things they're going to have is a panel on energy and local government. And Austin Baybrow is going to talk about the history and consequences of extractive industry activities in Southeast Ohio, and Rob Wiley on the Commissioner's Strategic Advisory Report. Heather Cantino of the Athens County Fracking Action
Coalition, right.
Committee, I think it is going to speak on citizen efforts relating to the K and H injection wells. Those are particular, like I mentioned, there are 7 currently, and several of them are K and H company.
Correct.
And then there's this new one that's just been authorized that could conceivably double the amount
More than double.
of fracking waste in the state, in our county, which is already the second largest county receiving this kind of wastewater. There's going to be Dennis Sargent, as you mentioned, from Meigs County, is going to talk more about these dock plans.
Correct.
D-O-C-K, that is the place
dock,
where...
the building of the dock on the Ohio River
Right.
to bring all of this wastewater into our counties.
And someone is going to talk about Ohio University and Athens Energy future. Now, you know, one of the interesting things about that, I have no idea what she's actually going to speak about, but in yesterday's Athens News, there was a lengthy article signed by, well, there were 50 names there. I think yours was one of them. No?
I don't think so.
Dick McGinn's was
Dick's
definitely
part
one
of that.
them. Okay, and Austin Baybrow, which is talking about a protest coming up Monday, this Monday, which would be the 8th, at probably, you know, at Cutler Hall, a protest about these energy plans for the Laushi plant, heating plant for Ohio University, which has currently been coal, and they're phasing that out. And they're talking about switching to natural gas, which compared to coal has less carbon emission compared to coal, but still has plenty of carbon emission. It's still a fossil fuel using concentrated carbon laid down millions of years ago in coal and oil and gas. And there's going to be a protest at noon on June 8th at Cutler Hall, according to what it said in the paper yesterday, the A News that printed this lengthy protest about the fact that Ohio University is switching to another fossil fuel rather than coal to natural gas, and not actively working on other things that could be done that are renewable resources, such as the possibility, which has been mentioned in the papers, of a solar farm near Albany, I believe it's being proposed for, and other ways of using renewable energy sources. So it's exciting times around here, Ginny, isn't
Right.
it?
I have not been involved in this effort. You can't do everything, right?
Right.
But the people who have told me that there were far more than 50 signatures.
Oh, yes.
That there were more than they could possibly print in the newspaper.
Right.
And that these people are people who are very knowledgeable about alternative energy options. And so they're really trying to pressure the university and let alumni know what's really going on here, to try to put pressure on the university to phase in these sustainable resource options.
Right.
And especially since Athens County is one of the most knowledgeable places in the country
Yes.
on sustainable energy,
Yes.
for the university not even to ask their opinion, not even want to know what they think, is, I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's not a rational approach. And the other thing I understand is that in order to get this energy, this new source of energy, into the university, their plan currently is to dig under the river,
Under the Hocking River.
under the Hocking River,
Yes.
and put tubes and tunnels and pipes under there in order to get to Ohio University. And that's something that people are really worried about because of the possibility of breakage, and then what happens with the river. It'll pollute the river and the other things that go along with that.
Yes.
So what they're saying is that the people who are opposing this are saying that the plans that the university have are not intelligent plans. They have not really thought about the whole picture.
Yes.
They've not looked at all the options, that the gas industry is pushing this option on the university, and local people feel it's a bad idea. So, it's a major, major issue that is coming up.
Right. I have a lot of clippings here. I'm not going to refer to most of them, obviously, but this is one from the A News that came out in May 11th. It was dated May 11th, and its headline, OU Natural Gas Pipeline Gets September Completion Date. In other words, they are planning to make this pipeline under the Hocking River, and then going from the Hocking River, presumably underground, to the Laushi plant, which is over
Sounds
there.
like it.
Over there by the West Green. It's very close to West Green and to the former depot, railroad depot, and so on. They're planning to have that done. According to this, they're hoping to do it by September. And the whole idea of using renewable resources to provide electricity and hot water and so on for the university is being, rushed to completion, as it were.
Before the students get back, I think, is probably part of their plan, because they know that some of the things they're doing, the students would be protesting. So, as far as their strategy goes, that's a smart strategy. Let's get it done before the students get back, and
Right.
and then it's a done deal.
Well, anyway, it's really interesting, all these things that are sort of coming together right now. So Democracy Day on June 13th is very important. We've talked about some of the specific people who are going to speak in the morning, and there are more in the afternoon after Jack Freck's talk. Andrea Reich is going to talk about the charter and what it will do. We have been discussing this as far as, our understanding is currently in this Athens County Charter and Bill of Rights frequently asked questions
Brochure.
which is available to people. And to get more information about these matters, and we'll be having up on the screen again, contact people to find out more about Democracy Day on June 13th. And we're getting rather close to the end, Jenny. We've just got a couple of minutes here. I get the announcement, so I do want to repeat that it'll be a very full day, won't it?
It will. It will.
Give us the times again.
Well, people can gather at 8 to visit with their friends and have tea and coffee and stuff, or any time between 8 and 9.
Yes.
Come when you can. And then the actual day is from 9 to 4:30 with lunch provided at noon.
Yes, and a request for a donation for lunch.
Correct.
But no monetary registration. We hope that many people will come, and we'll contact people ahead of time, as was shown on the what we just had on the air, about the people to contact, including Dick McGinn and Dennis Sargent.
Right.
Dennis Sargent of Meigs County.
Correct.
We can't forget that because Meigs County people will be there also. So we're hoping a number of people will come up from Meigs County.
They will.
And give us your phone number again, Ginny.
It's 740-594-4147. If you want to help with setup, want to help with food, or any other things you can think of you'd really like to help with, give me a call.
Right, because Jenny is in charge of letting the day go nice and smoothly, and we'll be having a time at the near the end of the day for people to meet in small groups and come up with their questions and their suggestions and so on. And Ginny will be leading that discussion, won't you, Ginny?
Well, I will be helping facilitate that discussion,
Right.
but people will be breaking into their own groups.
Right.
And it's important to emphasize that, because the way that politicians in the state strip us of our rights are in more areas than just extractive industries.
Yes, indeed.
That when it comes to economic development in our area, they traditionally write laws that support big corporate industry and make it very difficult for small farmers and small business people to be able to have healthy and productive businesses.
Right.
So it's more than just the extractive things. What are the issues
Right.
that you're
And
having?
Ginny Coover has been my guest today on Women Today and Yesterday. Come down to Shade.
Thank you, Lois.
And it's you'll be able, June 13th, come see Ginny and me and all the other folks who are coming. And this is Lois Whaley for Women Today and Yesterday.